What is change? Socrates described it as the body changes, such as a person getting older, and mentions the soul never changes when a baby is born. Change is the external symptom of the otherwise invisible force of time. In physics, change is motion. Without motion or change of any kind, there would be no way to measure the difference between one moment or event in time and any other. Therefore, the passage of time from one moment to the next is measured as changes and motions of the elements comprising reality. This effect appears digital, with some pixels or parts appearing to change while others do not, as opposed to being analog, where everything would change all at once, like the individual photographs flashing from one frame to the next along a strip of movie film. This apparent discrepancy in the rate of time occurs between occurs because change happens faster on smaller size scales and slower on larger scales. Einstein and the contemporary Kybalion both stress the premise that microscopic particles move very fast and that the visible heavenly bodies move much slower by comparison, but that the same movement defines them both over long enough timeline. Thus, the same forces that determine the behavior of an atom also determine the behavior of planets and stars. Of all the universal elemental forces known currently, the commonality connecting them all is called, nowadays, spin. Thus, spin affects the known quanta of fusion, fission, and electromagnetism, as well as the yet theoretical graviton quantum, which I hypothesize to be faster than light tachyons. Likewise, spin obviously occurs in the visible heavens, from moons revolving around planets, for planets rotating and revolving around stars, for the differential rotation of the EM fields of stars, and for spiral galaxies formed from stars revolving inward toward a core black hole. So, in modern theoretical astrophysics and quantum mechanics, spin is considered the unifying substance connecting the micro quantum scale to the macro astronomical scale and the definitive trait of all matter energy. However, even Pythagoras recognized what moderns call chirality in spin, or so-called left and right handedness, according to whether the spin is clockwise or counterclockwise, which led to the ridiculous conclusion by the first philosopher that all atoms of the four elements were equally balanced between spin and counterspin. It is indeed the case that all real spin possesses its opposite counterspin in potential, but this hardly plays out as balance among all the spinning objects in the cosmos today. For example, there is obviously not an equal amount of matter, called bosons, and energy, called fermions, in the visible universe now, although theoretically this condition may have been possible at a certain point of critical mass in our universe's distant past. Of course, it is also obvious that spin is not the sole and only manifestation of change in the cosmos. In fact, it is spontaneous symmetry breaking events that occur when a particle spinning one direction begins spinning in another that constitute entropy, and it is entropy by which we measure the totality of change over time, to such an extent that, in physics, time and entropy are synonymous concepts. In short, in reality, everything is always in motion, and mostly this motion constitutes spin, but as matter decays into energy, it adds the element of entropy to motion to describe all change over time. So, on the atomic and cosmic scales, it is this universal force of change over time, or simply time itself, that causes aging in the living and decaying of the dead. I disagree, though, that the soul is unchanging, as it supposedly stores our memories, and these are always being added to, so long as we're alive at least. God in monotheism is certainly not unchanging either, although often called the unmoved mover. His moods remain fickle and his motives ephemeral.